Hi, I want to talk to you about something today. This will touch different areas from grief to fear, even if you're in mourning of some sort. And I've titled the message, The Whys and the How Comes equals the What If. Usually on the weekends, I'm either traveling to Oklahoma or I'm on the road with Carol and Hannah to do some ministry. And last weekend, I felt like I was supposed to just stay home and stay put, and I really wasn't sure why. And I'm one of those people that think I have to know why. So, kind of like that little 3-year-old kid inside me, I started asking questions. Well, God, why? Daddy, why? Why am I staying home? What are we going to do this weekend? Is there a reason? Do I have to do something, or you don't want me to do something? Kind of just went through that, and I spent the weekend basically just kind of resting. I didn't have a lot of energy, and kind of felt like I was in a funk and didn't understand why. And I knew that this next coming weekend I was going to be seeing my kids, and so I knew I was excited about that. And I didn't really feel it was that, missing my kids kind of feeling. And I knew, I could probably be missing out on fun with Mama Joe and Lou, but when I checked with them, they were doing the same thing, resting in their hotel, and things hadn't quite turned out the way they thought it might. So I wasn't really missing out on anything really exciting other than just being with them. So, I just kept saying, God, what is this funky feeling I have? Well, throughout the weekend, I had a lot of trouble with my computer. And lo and behold, I tried to fix it myself and it crashed. So I spent probably, 3 to 4 hours working on my computer with a dear friend of mine over the phone. And by the time I got through with that, I was absolutely just spent and my emotions were on edge. And I'd actually come to realize that for months I had been feeling an anxious, edgy feeling that I wasn't sure why. And I called to order pizza to take over to my friend for her birthday, and I actually called the wrong number, but I hadn't realized it, and I felt myself really frustrated and angry, and even kind of argued with the lady on the phone of why were they not fixing pizza there anymore, and how I didn't understand it. And then when I realized I had the wrong number, of course I felt like an idiot, but at the same time I knew that the underlying anger that was building up and my temper that I was feeling rise was more than just my computer and the pizza. So I went over to see my friend, and as we were visiting, I I just kind of opened up and started basically just blubbering and venting to her. And I had had a dear friend of mine the Sunday before that messaged me and let me know that her son had been in a terrible accident and had broken his neck. It was a very horrible tragedy and really hit close to home, and I'm pretty close to him and his mom. And so I began talking about that, but before I even finished that conversation, I was actually backtracking to in April when my kid's best friend was killed. And during that time of not understanding such a young life that had been taken, and then being hit with another tragedy, and actually even in April, a tragedy the week before that took a young man's life, I, through talking to my friend, realized why God had me stay home for the weekend, because He needed me to get quiet long enough so that He could open my eyes to see that I had actually been in the what if mode. And I had began to question and stop trusting God with my children. And what if that happened to me? What if I'm the mom that has to be the one that can't breathe, that doesn't know what the next step's going to be, the one that's grieving and hurting? What if something could happen to their children? What if it happens to mine? And so through the grieving and mourning process, I had picked up a fear and an anxiety. And I had remembered listening to Joyce Meyer talk about evil foreboding, so I looked up that scripture. And it says Proverbs 15:15 says, "All the days of the desponding and the afflicted are made evil by evil forebodings. But he who has a glad heart has a continual feast, regardless of circumstances." An evil foreboding is simply the what if. It's that dreadful fear that you have that you can't shake. And it's really us not trusting God. It's putting ourselves in his place and trying to protect and guard and figure things out on our own. 2 Timothy 1:7 says, God did not give me a spirit of fear, but of love and of a sound mind. I knew I wasn't trying to think on these things, but it was there, and it has no right to stay in my life. So throughout this weekend, I determined that I'm giving this to God. And then I realized if I'm going through this because of a grieving process and because of different fears in my life, then how many out there might be experiencing the same thing? Psalms 30:11 says, You have turned my mourning into joyful dancing. You have taken my clothes of mourning and clothed me with joy. So the needing to know the whys and the how comes and the whens and the wheres and the reasons for everything is the fear of not knowing or having control over your life and your circumstances. So today, I choose to take on the heart of joy and bask in his love and let him take me into that place of joyful dancing. If you're experiencing this fear today or this underlying anxiety, just know that you do not have to take that on, that he's given you a heart full of joy if you'll just receive it. Thank you and God bless.